Hey, I'm Stephanie, and I just spent the past month trying to fix my brain with a capsule makeup collection, and I think it kind of worked. If you saw last month's video, then you know that I shopped my stash to create a minimalist makeup bag for the month of June. Not because I'm trying to become a minimalist or because I was going anywhere, but my brain was absolutely going crazy. I wanted something that would simplify my routine on the days where my brain felt fried, yet still give me the freedom on days where I had the energy to play. And I'm happy to report that this little bag seemed to help out with that. I gained some interesting insight as to why this worked for me, but also into the individual products. If you missed that initial video, putting this makeup bag together wasn't part of some sort of challenge. There weren't any hard or fast rules as to when I should or shouldn't use this bag. I just kind of wanted to see what would happen if I put together a full face of makeup in one bag and then used this as my default setting for the entire month of June. On days where my brain felt like scrambled eggs, I didn't want to be making 50 different decisions before 10 a.m. So this little green bag saved me from that. Having a full face of makeup in one bag ended up being a huge relief in this very busy phase of life because I can just unzip it, apply it, and go. But I think the real reason it was so successful was the flexibility. I used this bag of makeup every single day that I wore makeup, but on about half of those days, I also dived into the rest of my collection too. So having this default for support ended up being a really great balance between a simplified routine and the freedom to play. So let's talk about what's inside this bag, what worked really well, what worked less so, and what it taught me about the benefits of a capsule collection. The Salt New York Best Case Concealer in the shade Light Peach, which I use as a color corrector, worked beautifully as expected. But now that the hot and sweaty weather is definitively here to stay for a while, I think the finish might just be a bit too luminous for my preferences. Although it still performs just as well for me in the warmer weather, I think preference-wise, this is probably more of a cold season product for me, just because my skin does tend to be a little bit oilier, and I do tend to like more matte finishes when the weather gets warmer like this. The Lancôme All Over Concealer was in there, and it reminded me why I keep coming back to it. It's flexible, lightweight, it blends easily, and it plays well with every tool, fingers, brushes, and sponges. It never looks heavy, even when I'm in a rush and not being all that careful. That said, I have been using this thing for a long time, as in years long, and it somehow still looks full. A little goes a long way, which is wonderful, but it also makes me wonder if it will ever run out. Same goes for the Estée Lauder Double Wear Foundation. I still love it. It still gives me that flexible finish, depending on how I apply it, that wears all day. But even with near daily use, I am barely putting a dent in this thing. It's always a reality check to witness the proof that these complexion products take forever for me to use up, which makes me very glad that I haven't bought any new ones in a very long time. Now for the discontinued Hourglass Illume Sheer Color Trio. This one surprised me a little. I really enjoyed the bronzer. I felt like the shade and the formula were just as easy to use as ever, but I remember loving the blush color when I had a tan, and somehow when I used it this month, it didn't quite hit the same. The blush seemed to pull a lot more orange than I remembered, and the highlighter I've never really loved because some days it looks great and other days it looks dry, and I can't figure out a rhyme or reason as to why it seems to be inconsistent, even when I apply it with the same products and the same technique. So this month confirmed that that product's just not for me. The YSL powder was lovely and weightless on the face. It sat nicely under the eyes too, and it did a good job of mattifying my makeup, but my initial impressions of it still hold true. Although it's a finely milled functional powder in beautiful packaging, it's just not blurring enough for my taste. I think it's a good quality powder, but at least on my skin, it just doesn't develop that wow factor that I personally would want a luxury powder to have. There's no blurring, there's no ethereal glow, and there's no ultra refined finish. And that made me appreciate the Gucci bronzer even more. This thing is still delighting me. Shade 1 is a lovely color. The formula is silky. It's easy to blend. It's slightly blurring, but also opening that Fancy Pants compact each morning feels special every single time. I also got to play with 2 more shades of it this month thanks to a retailer mix-up that my patrons and channel members have already heard all about. Shade 1 is still my favorite, but I was surprised at how wearable shades 2 and 3 are for me too. If you'd like to see a shade comparison video on light skin, drop me a sunshine emoji in the comments to let me know. Now for the Lancôme Blush Subtil in the shade Cedar Rose. This is the only nude powder blush I have left, so it's been on workhorse duty. I have been using it constantly, and I even hit pan. I panned you, I panned you. I panned you, I panned you. I thought I might miss having more options, but I really didn't. Cedar Rose was a joy to use, and it made me realize that I actually like pink-toned nude blushes more than I thought. I used to think that brown or peach tones were the most flattering nude blushes on me, but pinky nudes feel just as natural to me now, maybe a little softer and a little brighter. The NYX brow pencil was in the bag purely to test whether or not I wanted to keep it, and the formula works just as well as it always has. That ultra-fine tip makes it very easy for me to use, especially with my very fine hair. I was just concerned that the color was just a tad too warm for me, but I think it actually works decently well. I'm not sure it's completely ideal, but it's definitely close enough for me to use up, especially since I don't have all that much left to go. The Natasha Denona I Need a Warm palette was the perfect palette to transition into summer, just like I thought it would be, and I enjoyed every look that I created with it. Although I did have to get used to the fact that the warmer tones on the right half of the palette can lean a little bit on the orange side at times. I even used the duochrome shade Phenomena several times, which was one of my goals when putting this palette in here, since it is more colorful than what I typically use, but I ended up really liking it in every look. For the most part though, I stuck to the very simple neutral looks, which is very easy to do with this color story. Then there was the MAC Liquidlast 24-hour waterproof liner. This stuff is no joke. Once it sets, it's not going anywhere. I had to fully soak my lash line in remover to get it all off. That kind of reliability is rare on my extremely oily lids, and it's very welcome, especially in summer. The only problem is that it takes several minutes to dry down, and so if I open my eyes too early, I end up stamping the liner into the crease of my eye. So that part was a little annoying. Other than that, it works really well though. The Kevyn Aucoin Indecent mascara made my lashes look fluffy and separated all month thanks to the fluffy brush and the lightweight formula, but it has now sadly officially expired. It's been open for 4 months, and I've had one too many scary eye infections to risk keeping it beyond that. But having the mini version ensured that I was able to use pretty much all of it up in those 4 months. On the lip front, the Lisa Eldridge Enhance and Define Lip Pencil in Fawn, on the other hand, was a little trickier. I find the formula just a little bit drying when I use it all over the lips as a base on its own, and if I don't put lipstick on over it, it's a little bit sticky and uncomfortable on my lips. Those things aren't deal breakers in a liner though, since I almost always top a lip liner with lipstick. And the liner does have great staying power, both alone, and I feel like it helps the lipstick wear longer as well. I had a bit of a journey with Lisa Eldridge's Kitten Mischief Lucent Lipstick. At first, it felt just a little too bold for me. I had been reaching for more muted shades before that, and this one just, I don't know, popped a little bit peachier than I expected, I guess. But by the end of the month, I found myself missing it on days when I didn't wear it and chose to wear a more muted lipstick. Once I got used to seeing a bit more color on my lips, I really liked it. I think I was just intimidated by the shade, which most people would probably think is crazy since it's really not a particularly wild color on me, but we all have our habits, and that is mine. Now that I've gotten past it, I'm much more comfortable reaching for this shade. This whole experience reminded me how much joy I can get out of just using what I already have, especially when I slow down enough to really pay attention to how I'm using it. I didn't feel limited by the capsule collection at all. I just felt supported by it. On harder days, I was able to simplify my get ready routine, and on easier days, I was able to play with more creativity. variety. I didn't get bored, I didn't feel deprived. In fact, I felt more connected to my collection, if that makes sense. Probably because I was using the same products for the most part every single day. And that just gave me an opportunity to get to know their nuances a little better. I could pay more attention to the finish of that powder over time, to the undertones of the lipstick. I could enjoy hitting pan on a product, and I got the satisfaction of knowing in more detail exactly why products work or do not work for me. And the more I used these beautiful things, the more they felt like mine. They felt less like collector's items to be admired from afar and more like a living, breathing part of my routine, which is my personal goal for my makeup. I want to stop saving it, I want to stop collecting it, and I want to start using it and diving into the joy of experimenting with it. So I'm thinking about doing this again, maybe monthly, maybe seasonally. Would you be interested in seeing me build more of these makeup bags on camera? If so, leave me a flower emoji in the comments to let me know. Thanks so much for hanging out. If you'd like to see more videos on thoughtful beauty consumption, then make sure to like and subscribe for more, and check out this video here. A huge thanks goes out to all of my patrons and channel members, including my Adagio angels, and if you'd like to see the extra content they do, I'll leave a link for you in the show notes. But most of all, I hope we can all remember that even stumbling can be a form of moving forward. So let's stumble in style.